Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Untangle Tech Talk series. Today we'll be showcasing the directory connector featuring features that are a part of the NG Firewall solution. My name is Shannon Miles, and I'm part of the product marketing team here, and I'll be your host today. John Coffin is here, and he's our director of QA, and he'll be demonstrating the upgrade and the configuration and answering questions along the way for this application. Okay, next slide, please.
Ooh, sorry.
Did it go to the next slide, John? You don't?
Yeah.
All right, it's not showing on my end. But that's all right. So just a few housekeeping rules before we get started. If you have any audio issues, please just use the audio panel on the right-hand side to select your preference. If you select to use a phone, you will need to dial in and use the access code provided. Just a reminder, this webinar is being recorded, so you'll have the option to rewatch or revisit areas that you'll need to follow up on. We'll also be answering questions throughout the presentation, so please just submit your questions through the Q&A box. We have our team online to help answer questions. And as always, you can send questions to sales@untangle.com or support@untangle.com. Now, before I move on, I just want to reiterate that this is a highly technical webinar. So if you are not familiar with the Untangle solution or networking concepts, I suggest you take a look at our Untangle 101 webinar series that are more high-level topics. And you can find a full list of our upcoming webinars on our website. And so next I'll pass it over to John, and so he will take over.
Thanks, Shannon. So thanks for joining us for this webinar on Directory Connector. Just a little bit, Directory Connector is a paid app. It basically allows you to identify traffic on your network based on either Windows login or scripting or some kind of login that you provide through Captive Portal. It's a way of limiting based on users, so you can group users into different areas or actually have specific for a specific user. You can also regulate that traffic with some of the other applications in the firewall. And I'm going to show a couple of features from the new 12.0, which is going to be released very shortly, which allows you to do configuration backups and save your reports to Google Drive. The interface looks a little different, but really the settings are all the same, whether you're using 11 or the upcoming 12. Setting up Directory Connector. Really, there's two main uses for it. So if you have a Microsoft Windows environment, which allows you to have all your users on a domain and they have to log in with their domain use, you can in turn use that login feature to identify them on the network, so you see their traffic associated with their Windows logins. The next way is using a radius server, and that will be amount to, you want to use something like either the script for identifying the traffic, and I'll get into that, or use something like Captive Portal where they have a login and password. And once they log in through Captive Portal, they become a registered user on your network, and you can actually see their traffic tagged with their username. Lastly, is a new feature for 12.0 is the Google Drive authentication. I'll quickly go over that. So a couple ways to identify traffic is using an AV script, and that's if we go, let me bring up an Untangle. So this is kind of a typical use. For AV connector, you can use what's known as a API script, and this script is actually generated by Untangle itself. And what it does, it when the person logs in, you put this on their Windows or environment as a startup script. And when they start the computer up and log in the morning, it identifies that username with all the traffic going out through that IP address of that computer. So it's pretty easy to use. You just hit the download. You take that file and put it on their computer in the startup items. And then that will automatically contact the firewall, the Untangle firewall, to say all traffic coming from this IP address is associated with this name. And you can have it where it's on startup and log out. So as different people use the computer, it will re-identify that new person. The second way is something called the AD monitor, and that is actually referred to in the wiki. And you can actually, it's a free application that in turn sits on your it sits on your AD server, Active Directory server, and it monitors the logins that come into the AD server and then registers that IP address. It's really easy to set up. You just install it on your AD server. You don't have to go to every Windows box and install the script like the script method. This one, you just install it on your AD server, configure it with your next generation firewall settings, and put the IP address of the item, and then this will automatically communicate with the firewall that this person has logged in and here's their IP address. It also does logins, so forth, logouts. So as people log in and log out to the same machine, you can re-identify the traffic with that. The last way is through Captive Portal. So what we'll do here, let me bring that up. Oh, here we go. So what we do is with AD Server is we'll create a Captive Portal. So we will create an authentication method, and we want basic login. And then for authentication, we'll choose either Radius or AD. And with that, what happens is they'll, when they first go to the web, they'll, they'll get a Captive Portal asking for their login and password, for example, like this. And then they'll type in their login, and that from that point on, it will identify their traffic as that particular person. I'm just going to take a quick pause here and let's see what the questions we have here on this. Best practice for using script when you have users logging in and logging out through. If people are logging in and log out, I honestly would use the Active Directory login monitor agent. It's much easier. It does identify the logins and logouts. I found with the script, for some reason on a logout, sometimes machines will log out before it has a chance to complete the logout script. So I do recommend the AD monitor. Can we install it on both AD servers? That's true. You can install it on both. It's just going to take the last call from the AD monitor. Just another quick one here. Does the AD monitor have running with AC locked, or can you start the monitor and log off the AD? I'm not clear on that one. We'll get back to that. So that's the kind of ways to identify traffic. So we've identified traffic. Now what can we do with it? And there's three main things that we can do. We can have different kinds of web traffic policies. For example, a lot of times executives will have unrestricted access to the internet. Maybe your teachers will have unrestricted access to the internet, while students and maybe employees will have a more constricted access to the internet. One of the ways we can do that is we'll close this off. So we've identified the traffic already, and what we'll do is we'll go ahead and create a new policy. So we'll go to Policy Manager. So we'll add a new policy saying something like execs, and we're going to say it's going to be a parent of the default. And we'll go ahead and save that. So now we're going to make a rule, and we're going to say, we'll call it exec rule. And in this case, what we're going to do is say a username. And we'll say, so we're going to specify user, and we'll say this particular user is an executive. So that means whenever that user logs into his machine, he's going to be automatically moved to the executive rack. And I can have different rules for that. So we'll go ahead and look at the executive rack. So right now, executive is just a duplicate of that. So I'm going to want to install a different web filter because I'm going to have different rules for them. And so now I have a different web filter for the exec user. So I'll go ahead and go in here and just say, so let's take a look at categories, and let's say you know, for example, well, it's probably a better thing. So what we can do is restrict the default more. And so we'll go to default and make this more restrictive. We'll say none of this, no banking, and so forth. And so now we have different web browsing rules based on the user's name. The other ways to do this, we can actually, on bandwidth control, we can say, you know, the execs are going to have higher priority. So I'm going to say exec bandwidth. I'm going to say again, if the username, I'm going to specify user, I'm going to say it's this person, and they're going to have higher priority. So I'm going to set the priority, and then I'm going to say they have set of medium, which is the default. I'm going to set it to high, so they have high priority on the bandwidth. And apply that rule. Again, this is all based on the user logging in. Along with web filter, you can also do this same filtering with application control. So, and I don't have it installed. So let me install it real quick. All right. So again, I can go to my executive policy and install a application control again. And go back to my default and say, for example, people who are not executives cannot go to Facebook, for example. Let's go down here. Facebook. So we'll block Facebook for everybody else. Again, you can just make tons of rules just based on your usernames. Same way with firewall. If there's like particular people you just want to block from the internet totally, you can go ahead and make rules based on username. So I can say, I can add, let's see, block. I'm going to say user 3 is going to be blocked, so I'm going to say go ahead and put username. And again, I'm going to specify a user. Well, we'll make it 10. And for example, I'm going to say I'm going to block all his traffic. Really easy to do. Now that person cannot get to the internet. Some of the kind of uses of shaping that. Let's see, firewall rules we just covered. One of the new, and let me just go a little bit back here. One thing I didn't show is how to set up directory connector with all the other ones. So if you're going to use an Active Directory, it's real simple. You can either use the host name. I recommend IP address because for some reason sometimes DNS goes down internally in the network, so it's best to use an IP address. Secured. So starting with Windows 2008, LDAP calls can be secure or unsecure. Depends on how you set it up. Obviously, I recommend secured. But if you don't have it set up, it works either way. When you uncheck this, it automatically changes the port for you. Put in your login. This has to be the administrator login and password. Also, the directory connector only handles one domain currently. So you'll put in your main domain there, and then you want to test it before you save it. And you say, and it says it's good. You can also get a list of all the active users to verify that the users that the domain you picked are the users that you're looking for. There's also user groups. You can go ahead and use usernames in the username field on the rules. For example, let's see here. I don't have any usernames set up. So, for example, one place to use this is inside Policy Manager. So let me look at my rule. Instead of saying this particular username, what I can do is I can actually say a group. So what I want to do is I can put in here, I want all administrators. And now I have a group that's associated with a name. And everyone in that group will in turn get on the executive policy, which has a different set of rules because it's a different rack. Let's just go back to directory connector. So that's really the basics for directory. The other one is the radius connector. Again, really simple. It's mainly used for captive portal. It's the only way to register the users if you're using a radius server. So again, you're just going to put your radius server IP address, the authentication code, the accounting, and then of course the shared secret, how your radius server and the Untangle Firewall are going to communicate, the kind of authentication method. Generally it's PAP. If you're using a Microsoft radius server, you're going to use the MS CHAP or 1 or 2. Generally 2 is used on more modern AD servers. And then also you can test it to make sure your settings are correct. So you can put normal. I have one set up already, and we can just test to make sure the communication. Oh, I forgot to save it. Save it first. Let's run the test again. Let's see, why is this not working? Probably have this connected. So I'm going to disable that. Go back to here. Let's do a save. Oh, I have to look into why it's not communicating right now. But anyways, that kind of gives you an idea how to communicate with your radius server and so forth. Kind of the last item, and this is new for 12.0, is directory connector. I mean, Google connector. It's a way of currently we plan to expand this. Hopefully, we can do something with captive portal where you can use your Google connector to authenticate people based on your domain. Right now you can do report saving and configuration backup. So it's pretty simple. You just click on Configure Google, you enter your login. In fact, I have one here, and then I will type in my password, and I'm going to say allow access. So now I'm configured. So what can I do with this? So a couple things. I can go down to my configuration backup, and I notice I have a new tab. It says Google Connector. And I can say upload all my configuration backups to my Google Drive. So now I have, not only can I back up my configuration to Untangle and get that if for some reason I don't have access to my account at Untangle, I can always just go to my Google Drive and grab a configuration backup. It's kind of useful if you have multiple machines across different areas. What you can do is set this up so when you go set up a new box, you can just download the configuration backup and set up that box. Some of the other things you can do is under reports. So before we used to get these huge CSV files in your email. Sometimes they were too big for your email server to get them. To kind of overcome that problem, we've added this Google Drive configuration. So I say I want to upload my data so I can recover it. I also want CSV files so I can do it later, and so forth. And it will put it in a new directory called Reports Backup. And you click Apply, and you're all set. So just kind of the new features coming in 12 to kind of give Direct Connector a lot more usefulness. Let's see if we have a couple questions. Let's go through here. Let's see if we have any questions. Traffic doesn't track with the user if the system is not in the dormant. Correct.
Hey, John, here, I have some questions for you.
Okay.
Can we have more than one AD server listed?
No. So what you generally with the way they work is you want to create a forest of AD servers, and there'll be one that will be the dominant one. And that's the one you want to connect to. Because if you have more than one, you start getting what you can do. And I haven't tried this, but you should be able to use AD Monitor and run those on each of the AD servers and have it update the firewall. They should update without any problem.
All right, we have a question about Captive Portal. For Captive Portal and tracking, do the systems have to be on the domain for the AD connector to work?
So the system for Captive Portal, it doesn't depend on the domain at all. So for example, you could have an AD server and you have your Captive Portal configured for your Active Directory, but someone brings a laptop, let's say from somewhere else. They'll come in and they'll get the Captive Portal page, and they can log in with their domain login and password, and that will be identified. So the machine does not have to be on the domain. What's kind of nice, what people do is a lot of people, they'll have the AD monitor monitoring the logins and so forth. For anyone that's not identified, unidentified users, and you can do this with Policy Manager, if I can show an example of that. So what you can do with, so what we'll do is create a policy, and let's say we want to create a new rack, and we want to say, you know, unknown user, and we'll just make the parent default, for example. And then what I can do is create a new rule that says, you know, unknown user. And what we can do is say, if the username is unauthenticated, I gotta find the right wording here. Anyways, you can say if the user is unauthenticated. Oh, here we go. It was right here and I didn't even see it. So if the user is unauthenticated, we want to send them to the unknown user rack. And that what you can do, so you can have an office that most of the people are on the Windows domain, and let's say someone brings a laptop or they have a Mac and it can be authenticated through Windows authentication. You can send them to the captive portal. They can log in with their Active Directory login and password, and now they're part of the known users, and you can identify that traffic.
Great. Let's see. Most of these questions seem to be very specific. So if you have any specific questions, please, for your deployment, please send them to support@untangle.com. They'd be happy to help you out. John, if you go back to the slide, so if you have any other questions, please just submit them. We'll try and get to them, but we're going to wrap things up. So this may have been a little confusing. So if you have any questions or need help with configuring these applications or installing, we have a professional services team that can help you. You can go to our website to get some more information or contact sales@untangle.com to get some help. If you go to the next slide, please, John. So in case you guys aren't aware, the RSA conference is at the end of the month, February 29th through March 4th, and we're very excited. This is Untangle's first time at participating at this event. It is one of the largest security conferences in the world. It's in San Francisco. If you happen to be in the area, please stop by. We're in the North Hall at the Moscone Center, booth 4703, and we'd love to see you. Or you can set up a meeting with us by emailing us meetings@untangle.com. And next slide, please. So here's a question about V12. V12 will be out shortly. Just keep checking the forums, and we'll be announcing it as soon as it's ready. If you have any questions, as we've mentioned, we've hoped you've enjoyed this demonstration today and you're able to understand a little better about how Directory Connector can help you in your networking capabilities. If you have any additional questions, please, we have many resources available. We have our wiki, the forums, and as always, you can contact us at support@untangle.com and sales@untangle.com. Right now, we don't have any webinars scheduled yet, but we will soon, so please check back for our next Tech Talks, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, John.
Thank you.